Welcome to episode 2 of season 7 of Third Song In, where we continue to be the most original podcast out there. For this episode, we're going to do part 4 of the beer curve, because we haven't done this before.
You're listening to Third Song In with Chris Derrickson and Tom Polachek. Welcome to the podcast.
We're going to tell some more drunk stories, and we were going to make this a drunk episode. It's not officially a drunk episode, but Tom might be drunk.
Well, yeah, let's see. Let's get to the end of it, and maybe we'll be able to call it what it is. We rarely, all right, so here's the background. We rarely record in the evening. We usually record early in the morning on a weekday. So yes, I'm only drunk half the time.
God damn it, we both wanted to tell the same joke. You beat me
to it. So we decided, well, I don't know that we really decided it. It just turned out that when the video clicked on, I was taking a drink and you walked in with a beer. So I think this could be a different episode altogether.
I think so. Because we're not sure which drink that was for you. Was it the first one, or was it the third one, or was it the who knows one?
It was only the first, and it's full. Like I barely had it, but I did. Yesterday was the first day of the NCAA tournament, and for the first time in probably 3 or 4 years, I left the office about noon and went and watched about 4 hours of basketball, and I drank. I don't know, at least 4 draft beers, probably 4, maybe 5 draft beers. And by 8 o'clock last night, I had the worst headache in the world. Like, I don't even have to go to sleep to get a hangover anymore. It just starts immediately. I just felt awful. So that's why whiskey's better than draft beer and for me these days.
But yeah, do you remember, because we bartended for years together and apart, I don't know if it's true or not, but it does seem that draft beer gives you a headache quicker.
Oh yeah. And people, what I've heard from people who know more about the nuts and bolts of it all is that a lot of it has to do with the lines. And if you don't clean out the lines, the draft, because most bars, most restaurants, their draft beer runs usually from the basement up or from at least another room in to wherever the bar is, where the taps are. And as I understand it, if you don't clean those fairly regularly, just imagine the sediment, the stuff that gets in there that then just gets poured into your beer. So that makes a lot of sense to me. It's never stopped me from drinking draft beer, but I really do need to not drink draft beer. And I rarely do these days. Yesterday was a very much an exception to the rules. It was like a throwback to 20 years ago where I would block off all of Thursday and all of Friday and just say I'm taking vacation. And we would, I'd leave the office with a couple buddies and we'd go to a bar and we'd get there at 10:30 and we would stay there until the daytime rounds of games were over, which was like 4:30 or something. And didn't stay that long yesterday, but still enjoyed myself and actually ended up hanging out with some of the guys that I used to do it with 20 or 25 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, I have told most of my drunk stories in previous episodes, with my very favorite being when we went to London's and I was drunk and the phone rang and I said, "If that's for me, I'm not here," or something stupid like that. And I'm sure I have told others, but I think we're going to turn to Tom for a couple more drunk stories, and then we're going to do our draft of songs about drinking or being drunk.
All right. First of all, I want to make sure that we clarify that you don't have stories because you don't remember the story. I guarantee you there are more drunk stories about you. Just because you don't remember what happened doesn't mean there's not a story out there. But
did we tell the story about me being passed out on the fire escape of the house and that lightning bolt earring was stuck in my cable sweater? Whatever it's called, and you came out and like had to gently disconnected so my ear wouldn't be ripped off. That was a
You were asleep on the fire escape. I think we may have brought that up, although not in a beer curve episode. I think it was one of the first ones. But yeah, that's one of my favorite stories to tell about you because you were completely passed out. And if you had been startled and woke up, you would have ripped that right out of your head. So I thought of two stories. One of them reflects so poorly on me that the drinking is actually the most respectable part of what I did. And that was that there was a party on Fraternity Row. I know I was a junior then because I basically, most of this story involves driving across the river into Illinois to Sauget, Illinois. And I didn't have a car with me my junior year, and one of the seniors did. So we were doing whatever we were doing on the row, and there were 2 or 3 parties. It was kind of a standard Friday or Saturday night, and I'd been drinking a bunch with everybody else. And we decided to go to PT's. And PT's is a strip club. I think it's still there, but it was like, it was the famous strip club for us on campus. And if you knew somebody with a car and you had extra cash, which we rarely did, that's where you would go if you wanted to go to see strippers. And we drove there, and it's probably a half hour or more drive to get from WashU's campus across the river to Sauget. But Sauget is right on the other side. And it's a really rundown, shitty area of Illinois there. It's relatively close to East St. Louis. It's a little bit further, but not too far away from Belleville, Illinois. But that's where there were a couple really sketchy nightclubs where you had to walk through a metal detector to get in, and there was PT's. And PT's had a cover. I don't remember what it was. And then, but you walked in, and it was enormous. It was like this giant, whole building of a building, just a big, rectangular building. And there must have been a dozen different stages there where strippers would be, or at least that's what it always felt like to me. So to make an embarrassing story shorter, at one point, a bunch of us, 3 or 4 of us, were sitting at one of the tables, like the stages, and you could sit all the way around. It was a square, and you could sit all the way around it. So I was sitting there, and I never had much money, so I wasn't really like throwing dollars at the stripper. She wasn't really dancing specifically for me because I was clearly a broke-ass college kid. But if you've ever been to a strip bar, the strippers come out in a little bit of clothing, and that's the whole point, is they take off their clothing down to a G-string, and then they dance. And at some point, I stayed at a table where one stripper left, and then another stripper came on, and they announced her like they do, on the PA. And she came in and she did her dance, and she kind of came over by me. And then there were guys with a lot more money than me on the other side of the stage. So she started kind of spending all her time over there. But she took off this one-piece skimpy outfit, like there was barely anything to it. And she kind of tossed it over her shoulder as she danced for this other dude. And I scooped up the outfit and then stuffed it into like underneath my shirt. So I stole a stripper's costume, which in retrospect is one of the most reprehensible things I can think. It's also really creepy and gross. So it was bad for all kinds of reasons. But at the time, I thought it was the funniest fucking thing I'd ever done in my life. And somebody else saw me do it, one of the guys I was with, and we basically just got up from the stage and left the building, got into his car along with, I think, 2 other guys, and drove back to campus. So this was probably about 11:30 at night at that point that we were headed back, coming on midnight. And we get back, Fraternity Row is still going, there's still parties going on. And I'm telling everybody that'll listen this this embarrassing story that I thought was just the most amazing thing. And I told somebody that story, and there were 2 or 3 other guys around, and they were all in our fraternity, I believe. And they were like, "Hey, we should go to PT's. Let's go now." And I went, "Yeah, let's go." So I got in a different car with 3 different guys, went back to the strip joint still with the costume in my shirt. Or I put it back in my shirt when we walked in. I paid the cover again. We we kind of hung out on the outskirts of everything because I was really worried somebody was going to recognize me as the asshole who took the costume. Nobody did. The same stripper got on a different table. I went up to that table and she approached me and I pulled up and showed her the costume and she was like, did you take that? I can't believe I was wondering where that was. I was like, no, I found the guy who stole your costume and I'll give it back to you if you do a dance for me. And I'm sure she didn't believe me because there were two of us there and only one of us was shit faced. But she didn't call the bouncers. They didn't throw me out. She didn't dance for me, of course, but she took her costume back and I stuck around for like another half hour and then those guys went home. And I wouldn't have done any of that stuff if I weren't shit-faced drunk. And if there's a cautionary tale to, you know, my kids, my boys as they head to college, it's don't do that. Because I could have probably gotten the shit kicked out of me if they knew what I was doing and if a bouncer had
Yeah,
caught
it's
me.
true.
Or if she had gotten really pissed off. I don't remember anything about her other than she must have been pretty cool because all she did was take her costume back and you know, leave me alone. But
Yeah, they
that
don't
is
mess around. They don't mess around with those strippers. I mean,
no,
those
man,
bouncers
no.
will beat the shit out of you if you're.
Yeah, and I mean, and don't get me wrong, I didn't like, you know, I didn't do anything grabby or handsy or anything like that. I
Yeah.
was scared, you know, hell, I was scared of those women. It was, but I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world that I stole it and then went back and told her that I caught the guy who stole it. Nobody believed that, but in my head, I thought it was fucking brilliant.
Did I tell the story about when I went to Minnesota for a recruiting trip and I went with a buddy? Well, he worked with me. He was petrified of flying, so he would get shit-faced drunk, like
Wow.
just drunk as can be. And our listeners aren't going to be able to see this, but what he would do is he'd be sitting in his seat. He's kind of drunk, and he'd sit there and be like going back and forth like this, just like rocking. And then
On the
he'd open
plane?
the window. Yeah, on the plane. Sorry.
Oh, man.
He'd always have to get the airplane, the window seat, open the thing, shut it, and then just go back to this. And I'm just like, dude, you're making me crazy. Like you're gonna make me
Yeah.
nuts. So we get to Minneapolis. He's already really drunk because he's drinking Jack Daniels. He mixed it in with a Coke, and at the time you could still bring it was like mostly Coke. Sorry, mostly Jack Daniels.
Right.
He got a Coke to mix it, and he drank that whole thing. So basically, an entire Coke bottle of Jack Daniels.
Oof.
So he's shit faced. We check in at the hotel. He's like, "Let's go out and do something." I'm like, "All right, let's go." So there's a strip club just down the street, and when I tell the story, it's honest to God truth. Like we go in, and it was full on nakedness. It was weird. They could strip all the way down. So
Really?
yeah. So we go in, and I'm a little uncomfortable, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go get a lap dance." I'm like, "All right, you go for it, buddy." So he goes and gets a bunch of money, a bunch of singles, because like when you get money out of the machines at a strip club, apparently it's all singles. So I'm just sitting there chilling. So he comes over and he's like, "Go have yourself some fun," and he slaps down a pile of singles. And I'm like, "All right, man, thanks." And he disappears again. And then a few minutes later, he comes out almost like a dog with his tail between his legs. He's like, "Hey, man, you still got those singles?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." I was like, "Here you go." He's like, "Thanks." And he goes off again. And he was so fucking hungover the next day. This isn't a drunk story about me, but it was. And then this is my favorite moment. We're going back a couple of days later, back to North Carolina. Or actually, I was in DC at the time. So going back to DC, he snuck off to a bar and chugged two screwdrivers, like at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't even know how they were open. So
Right.
we go onto the plane. Again, we're sitting next to each other. They haven't even started serving stuff yet. And he raises his hand. He's like, "Excuse me, can I get like a vodka and orange juice?" And she's like, "Sir, it's 8 o'clock in the morning." And he's like, "Fine, can I get a beer?" And she gave him such a look of disgust and went and got him a beer. And he drank beers that entire flight. I don't know how he ever got home, but he must have. Because
Oh, that's awesome.
so
And was
that's one of my favorite drunk stories, and it wasn't even me.
Well, that's all right. So that leads me to but the other story I thought I might tell today is not me being drunk, although I believe I probably was drunk on the night in question. But when we were seniors at WashU, we had it was in the spring, second semester. Everything's winding down, and as an annual tradition, our fraternity would have a senior night, and we would go out and get dinner somewhere nice, usually downtown St. Louis. Then we would get a junior, and usually more than one junior, depends on how many seniors we had. We had enough seniors that we had two juniors that volunteered to be designated drivers. So it was actually one of the smarter things we did that was related to drinking while I was in school. So I was a senior. I think we had about 8 or 9 guys. It might have been even double figures. We had 2 cars worth of guys, and we went to a nice restaurant in St. Louis. I don't remember where we went, but it was one of the kind of upscale things. And what was nice is the house paid for everything. It was, we didn't have to shell out any of our own money. The fraternity paid for dinner, and then we would go from there. We would go and hit a couple bars, and it wasn't intended to be like out till 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. kind of thing, but it was dinner and then go out and get some drinks. So we did that, and we had a nice dinner, and we ended. I don't know where we had dinner, but I do know that we ended up on Laclede's Landing in St. Louis, which is right where the Arch is, and that's where all the bars and restaurants are, where all the tourists go. It's also where Chris and I worked for a few years as bartenders at the Spaghetti Factory, which was, famed in St. Louis, particularly, before baseball games and stuff. But we went to a bar, and I can't remember the name. Maybe you remember the name. Do you remember the name of the bar? There was one also in Columbia. It was near Mississippi Nights, and it's not called Hugo's, but it was something like that. And it was very much kind of just a raucous. They didn't have a lot of live music. It was just like loud music and huge place, and cheap drinks, and you buy drinks in giant plastic cups, and then you could get them refilled. And they were just factories to manufacture drunk assholes basically. So of course that's where we went. I can't remember the name of it. That may be a post facto for us. But we sat down again, about 10 or 12 of us maybe, and somebody ordered, I'm not going to name any names, but somebody ordered kamikazes, a round of kamikazes. So we're all drinking beer, and then the waitress brings us the kamikazes. And one of again, just going to avoid naming names, that one of my buddies, guy I played football with, had known for 3 years at that point, one of our best friends, drank the round or drank his shot and said, I could drink these all night. And another fraternity brother took that as a challenge. So he kept ordering rounds of kamikazes. Most of us stopped drinking them, but he kept drinking them along with this other guy. And it just basically became a contest to see how many kamikazes they could drink. I don't have a clear recollection of the rest of the evening. We might have gone to another bar. Like I said, luckily we had designated drivers. So we all got home safe. I woke up with a hangover, but not the worst hangover I'd ever had. Not a 2 trips to PTs type of hangover. But I didn't I felt rough, and I didn't really see anybody until about, and I think this was on a Sunday morning. So about 10 o'clock, people start rolling around. And that's kind of normal anyway. And one of these 2 guys comes down and he says, I don't know what happened, man, but somebody threw lobster all over our room. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? He goes, yeah, there's lobster all over our room. And what had happened is he slept on a bunk bed on the top bunk, had lobster as part of our fancy dinner, and threw up all over his room. And it was, and I didn't, like I said, I was feeling pretty shaky. So I kind of looked around the corner. I never went in. I would have been throwing up myself if I had gone in that place. But it took him the whole rest of the day to clean up his room, and it reeked. The whole floor reeked for at least 2 or 3 days after that. And that's how we coined the phrase, throw in lobster. If you had a rough night, the question was always, hey, did you throw any lobster last night? So that wasn't me drinking, although I was drinking, but that wasn't, I wasn't as reprehensible as I was on the 2 trips to PT's night.
So you didn't steal any strippers' costumes that night?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
So that reminds me of one more quick story, and then we'll move on to our draft. I did stay one summer in St. Louis. A couple guys always stayed in the house over the summer, and one of our brothers, who I won't say his name, like rarely, when I say rarely, I mean like once or twice in a semester, he would do his laundry. And to the point where he would buy new underwear instead of washing his underwear. So you might be filling in the blanks as to who that was.
Yeah, I might know who that is.
So we finished the summer session finished, and we decided we're going to go out and celebrate. Not many of us. So we each went and bought a bottle of alcohol. So I bought Southern Comforts. He
Oh,
bought 100 proof peppermint schnapps. And the goal was to finish as much of the bottle as possible. God, that's the dumbest. I could just saying that out loud
I know.
makes me
Especially
feel.
those two things.
I know.
Oh,
So we had a great time, and I would never drink Southern Comfort again, and I don't think he's ever drank peppermint schnapps again. But that night, he got sick. I guess he was throwing lobster, and he went to the bathroom to throw up, wrapped his arms around the toilet, and just threw up like crazy. Gets up in the morning and realizes that he didn't go to the bathroom. He went and wrapped his arms around his laundry that he had just done for the first time in months the day before and puked all over his laundry. So the next morning, not only is he hungover, but he's got to clean that basket out and redo his laundry.
rewash all of his laundry. Oh my
That's one of
God.
my favorite. And I was drunk. I don't remember what I did, but I didn't do that. So there you go. There's another drunk story for you.
There was, I'm telling you, I know we can do a part five of this because I've already thought of a couple other things that I'm not even going to tell this time.
All right. That wraps the story parts of the beer curve part 4. The new part that we will introduce to this old topic is we are going to do a draft of songs related to drinking or drunkenness or however we want to interpret it. So I did the randomness last time. Do you want to flip a coin or something and we go from there? Do you even have a coin? I see it
I
digging
have a
around under your
coin.
desk.
I
Nice.
do. Watch this. All right.
All
So
right,
you're going to
I
call
will
it.
I'll call tails. I trust you.
All right. It is heads,
Motherfucker shit.
as far as you know. And we're going to do a serpentine draft. We're going to draft a total of 10 songs.
Okay.
We will post this as a playlist, by the way. This will be a special third song in playlist, most likely called Beer Curve Part 4. And the winner of the coin toss gets to decide whether they want to take the first pick or defer so they get back-to-back picks in the first round. And I am going to take the first pick.
Ah, damn it.
I doubt. That's the thing about this is there's so many drinking songs. I'd be really surprised if I took your song, but
There's one that I really, really want. So
all right, well, we're gonna see what happens then. Because my first pick is the Pinball Song by Slobberbone.
yes.
Okay,
No,
good.
that wasn't it. I was thinking I didn't put that on my list because I was pretty damn sure you were going to use it or take it.
Yeah, I love
All
that
right.
song.
Then I get the next 2 picks. So the one I wanted most is Gin and Juice by the Gourds, not by
Nice.
Snoop.
Gotcha. Like
And
both of
then,
those versions, by the way. But
yeah, both of those are great versions. One of the coolest videos online is with Snoop listening to the Gourds version and reacting. It's a really
oh,
cool
I've never
video.
seen that.
Yeah.
I'll have to look for that.
It was years ago that I saw it, but I assume it's still out there. All right. So I think we've been criticized for being a little obscure with our choices. So I'm going to go a little
Us?
obvious. Yes, I know it's
We,
crazy.
that is insane. I mean, just being criticized at all.
Yeah. All right. I'm going with George Thorogood and I think it's the Blasters. No, not the Blasters. George Thorogood and whoever the hell his band
The
is.
Destroyers.
And the Destroyers. I drink alone.
Oh, you didn't even go with the one I thought you were going to go with.
No, I was going to, but in the end, I really liked I Drink Alone better than one bourbon, one scotch, one beer.
Yeah, you know
It's
what?
still
I
out there
agree
if you
with
want
you.
it.
I agree with you that, and I didn't think about Thurgood at all, but he has a lot of good drinking songs. All right. I have the next pick, and I am picking the song Drunken Angel by Lucinda Williams, which I think is on Car Wheels on the Gravel Road.
I think so. Yeah, it's a great song.
I love that song. And and then I get to pick another one. And my other one is tight here. I'm gonna go with I'm going with Moonshiner by Uncle Tupelo.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's not really a drinking song in the same way, but it is definitely about booze, and it may be my favorite Uncle Tupelo song.
It's up there, like that one and Black Eye,
Yeah,
from the same album. Both of those have that old timey feel to them.
very much. Yeah,
It's such a great album. Yep.
that's a good one. So
All
you
right,
have number six
so
and seven.
I do. And fuck all you all say we're too obscure. So I'm going with
I didn't say it.
I'm going with Jack versus Jose, meaning Jack Daniels versus whatever what
Jose
Jose
Cuervo.
Cuervo, by Roger Klein and the Peacemakers.
Ah, yeah.
That is, and on the list I will put the live version because I like it a little bit better. But it's basically a guy who goes into a bar, I think in Memphis, and tries to order tequila, and the bartender is basically like, "You ain't from around here, is you?" And all the people in the bar get pissed at him because they don't drink. He's not drinking whiskey; he's drinking tequila. And then I'm gonna go with one of our all-time favorite bands, the Hang Dogs, "Drink Yourself to Death," which is a criticism of the music execs of the time. And my favorite line of that song is, "If you're so country, then why don't you drink yourself to death?" That's from the Wallace 48 album, I think. Pretty sure. All right, you got two more. We can wrap it
I
up,
do,
and
and
then I got one
it's
more.
amazing. Like our honorable mention list might last longer than our draft because I've got so many to pick from here. And I first, I'm gonna go with Cold Beer Hello by the
Oh,
V-Roids.
nice one. Yeah, that's a great song.
Great party song, great song. I've seen him perform it live. It's just a lot of fun, that song. It's Scott Miller at his best, his early best, anyway. So that's our eighth song. And I'm going a little off the beaten path, and I will admit that technically this is a song that I would not have known about if it weren't for you. You introduced me to this band. Well, actually, it's really this artist. The band is the Joel Plaskett Emergency,
Oh
and
yeah,
the song is Drunk Teenagers.
yeah.
Most of what we've been picking are kind of all country Americana type bands. I would not call Drunk Teenagers that. It's very much an alternative rock song, but it's great. I love it. I really love Joel Plaskett, and I think I only learned about him probably only 2 or 3 years ago because you put him on a mixtape probably just before we started doing the podcast. And I've listened to everything he's had since then, but I did not know about him before you turned me on to maybe that song as I think about it.
No, it wasn't that one. It was
No,
I think it was Deny, Deny, Deny. I think he had an album where everything was in threes.
I found
I may
Drunk
have,
Teenagers quickly though, and love that song. So that's my final pick for this playlist.
and I could be wrong, but you should look this up so we don't have to oppose facto. But I think Joel Plaskett is Canadian. I
Oh,
think that's
really?
where I think he was in the that stream of, oh shit, it's another Canadian.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't know that.
all right, I get the last choice. This is tough because I got three songs. One of them is going to be my playlist pick. One of them is going to go on this list, and the other one's going to be left out. I'm going to go with Whiskey Angel by the Black Lilies. They're a bluegrassy band that I like quite a bit. For a brief time, the lead singer from the Everybody Fields joined them, which I think made him he took him up another level. They broke up a little while ago, but it's a great upbeat song. So I will save the other one for the playlist pick.
So what were your setting that one aside, what are your runners up?
Yeah, there's two main ones that I struggled with. And I didn't choose this one because I think I might have put it on another playlist. It's Time for Wine by Picos and the Rooftops. It's kind of a sad song. It's
Yeah, yeah, I
about,
like that song.
yeah, that's a great song. And then this one, I only didn't choose him because of who she sings with, but Fill in My Cup by Haley Withers, I think her name is. I think she sings with, I should even, like Big Town. Like there's some pop country band that
Oh
she
yeah.
sings with, and I can look them up, but I really like that song. I really like her, and I think we only chose male singers for this one, which is a
Oh
little
yeah. No, no,
misogynist.
no,
Oh,
Lucinda.
oh yes, nice work, Tom. You bailed
Yep,
us out
see?
again. All right, thank
Exactly.
you.
You're
So those are
welcome.
my two. Those are my two main. I had seven or eight, and I'm not going to name the other one because it goes on the playlist.
Yeah, well, I have one that I saved for the playlist for that reason, but I have like 8 or 9 more songs here. I just wasn't sure where I was going to go, but I have 2 songs each from Lucero and from Old 97s, and I decided not to draft them only because we talk so much about those bands that and we'll talk more about them. I'm sure again I'll sneak them in somewhere. But I had there's a great song by the Beat Farmers called "Are You Drinking with Me, Jesus?" And
Yes,
uh,
I know that song.
I love that song. I love the Beat Farmers. I think they stopped being a band before I ever discovered them as a band, but they're just a great. There's a great band, and they do a lot of drinking songs. I probably could have found 2 or 3 with them. There's also the other one I thought about was "When Drunks Go Bad," which is an Austin Lounge Lizards song, which I also really like. And then just because, and I put it on the list before I knew how this was going to get scheduled, but there is a song called Rye Whiskey by Blue Mountain. And just in celebration of the fact that that's what I'm drinking right now, I thought I might draft that one. But I'm pretty happy with my picks. I think this is a really good playlist, actually. This will be a fun one.
I think it is too. Nice job.
Yeah, nice job to you. Congratulations.
By the way, speaking of basketball and congratulations, one of my actually least favorite moments happened already. So right before halftime, I was watching Duke, which is where I
Uh-huh.
work, and Mount St. Mary's. The kid from Mount St. Mary's dunked the ball, turned around and looked at one of the Duke players and did this, which is essentially
Patted his head,
taunting.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
patted his head. And I'm like, you fucker, you're losing by 24 and you're
Yeah.
taunting the other team. Nice work.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, exactly. Is he thinking this might be my only chance to be on TV? I don't know. I don't like that one anyway. Although that one doesn't seem to be as like people don't take offense at that as much. I don't think.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm with you.
I
No
don't know
one in
where it
Duke
came
should be
from
mad.
even, but
Yeah.
like in the NBA, you see him do it all the time. The next segment we have for the podcast is to make our recommendations for the episode. This season, we are making recommendations from the aughts. This is our second episode of season 7, and we are making recommendations for pop culture from 2002. And Chris is going to go first.
I am. This one, it's not obscure because I got a lot of followers. I just don't know how many of our listeners are going to love it. But I looked at the album list from 2002, and the one that jumped out at me was by a band who's has the greatest band name ever, and you will know us by the Trail of Dead. Their sort of breakthrough album, Source Tags and Codes. My favorite song on the album is Another Morning Stoner, and that's the one that sort of first got me into them. And I will say I don't love all their stuff, but this album is great from beginning to end. Pitchfork gave it 10 out of 10 and called it an epic album, and I think that that's the thing is epic sort of fits it because a lot of their songs are 7+ minutes long, and it's a very different sound than I usually listen to, but it's one that I like as an alternative to. I mean, I like metal when it's hard enough to sort of fit in there with that, and the lead singer will have his moments where he gets into not screaming in the way that Tom hates it, but definitely stretching it. And it's a truly great album, and I would encourage folks to check it out. You may not completely love it, but give it some time because it's worth listening to. They were I don't know, I just find that they're a very powerful band and continue to make really good music to this day.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I don't like them at all, but that's not a big surprise. It's definitely not my thing, but
No,
I
I sort of even chose it slightly with you in mind, so you're good.
yeah, no, I didn't expect that no, you're not picking them for me.
I was picking to piss you off.
Right, that's more likely. That's more likely. So when I fired up Google to look at what came out in pop culture in 2002, I was astounded by how many good movies came out that year. And I almost went a different route because I just didn't know what to pick. And I basically I like on the outline, I have a list of like 8 movies. And I until about 10 seconds ago, I wasn't quite sure which one I was going to recommend. I'm probably doing the purpose of these recommendations a disservice because I think it's a movie many people have seen, but it is one of my favorite sci-fi movies, and I think it's one of Tom Cruise's best movies, and it's called Minority Report, which
Yep.
was directed by Steven Spielberg. But it's not like it's not a. It doesn't feel like a Spielberg movie. It's not like a happy, hey, let's go save these kids kind of movie. It's pretty dark. It's a film noir kind of thing. It's not as dark as Blade Runner, for example. But the premise is that law enforcement has completely changed because there are people with psychic powers who can forecast the future, and they kind of are activated if a murder is going to occur, and they'll know about it at least minutes, if not hours, before it happens. And so they figure out this way to harness this psychic ability, and then the police go and they arrest people before they commit the crime. So there's lots of like weird, constitutional type issues, philosophical issues about it. It gets into that stuff pretty deeply, but it's also a good mystery kind of action film. Tom Cruise is fantastic in it. I think he's one of the craziest people in Hollywood. But I also watch almost every movie he does because he's really good at being playing these kind of roles. It's also got Colin Farrell in it. It's really really good. And like I said, so are about a half a dozen other movies I've got on this list. I'm recommending Minority Report. That's what's going to go on the website. I will say that there's a stupid comedy called The New Guy, directed by Ed Decter and starring DJ Qualls. That is just this stupid. I guess it's a coming of age type of high school movie. Eliza Dushku is in it, who is in the movie and still continues to be gorgeous. But she's really good in it. She's very funny in it. So there's cool comedies that were out. There's a real quirky movie that technically I don't think was an indie film, but Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which was directed by George Clooney, weirdly, and stars Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell is one of my favorite actors, and he played Chuck Barris, and it's this weird film that kind of supposes what if Chuck Barris was actually like a secret agent, a CIA spook that was doing espionage work for the United States government while he was also hosting the Gong Show. It's insane, but it's really good, and I think it's the movie that made people realize that Clooney could direct. But having kind of rambled on, I won't give you the other 4 or 5 movies that I also thought I could have selected. I'm going to stand by the Minority Report, which came out in 2002, starring Tom Cruise. I think it's a great film.
So not Blue Crush from 2002.
No, although isn't Blue Crush, is that with Jessica Alba, or is that with a
I
different
think
actress?
I I I saw it when I was looking through the list because I mean, the number of not solid, but great choices. That's why I didn't go with a movie because
Yeah, it's hard.
I figured, but I mean, Born Identity, which is one of I know it's just an action movie, but it's such a great one. Even kids like Road to Perdition,
Yeah, that's an
another
underrated
great one.
film. I love
Yes,
that
I think
movie.
so too. Gangs of New York, which I don't love as much, but I know a lot of
Yeah.
people do. Catch Me If You Can. I mean, just the list is incredible.
Yeah, it was a
Um,
great year. I don't know why. Especially because it was the year right after, 9/11. And of course, these movies were all, I'm sure, they were in the, you know, in the can, so to speak, before, you know, the terrorist attack in late 2001. But maybe that was
Yeah.
it. They just put out a lot of good movies because people needed entertainment. They needed something to take their mind off of things. But it was a tough call, and there really are a lot of good films.
And then because I'm still 14 at heart, my favorite title is The Pianist because, you know, it's
Well,
a great movie, but why couldn't they have called it The Pianist? I mean, like why is it The Pianist? It's just too damn close. All
yeah, yeah.
right.
I mean, they could have called it The Organist, but you still run into kind of the same problem.
You know what? Every once in a while, you're pretty quick and clever, dude.
Thank
Nice
you,
work.
thank you. And that was the little rye in me.
All right, real
Nice.
quick. This is a prefacto because I was looking up bars near Mississippi Nights, you know, because the internet can tell you anything. And you
Sure.
probably knew this, but I didn't. But here's what AI tells me. Since Mississippi Nights is no longer open and closed in 2007, it's difficult to suggest bars that were specifically near it. So I had no idea that Mississippi Nights closed, nor that it ever would. It was such a great concert place.
Well, plus that long ago.
I know that's freaking 18 years ago, dude. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
of course, again, you think about it. When's the last time you were in a landing? It might, for me, it
Right.
might have been senior night. Yeah, just
Yeah.
before they were throwing lobster all over the house.
So that'll be one of our future episodes is great venues to see concerts at because I think we might, and
Oh yeah,
they'll of
I
course be
like it.
relatively local for us, but I think we have a good array of choices for to do an episode on.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And we can also talk about worst because I've seen a couple great bands in awful, awful places to see music. So
Yeah, we can do that too. What do you want to do next, my friend?
we need to let's address post facto.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake.
Post facto is our chance to correct mistakes and sometimes to just add information to stuff we talked about previously. In this case, I don't think you have anything, if I'm not mistaken. But I have to correct a flat out error. It's been a little while since I just completely fucked up. Last episode, I highly recommended a music documentary about Ike Riley, and I got the name wrong. I got the title of the movie wrong. I said it was Don't Turn Your Back on Saturday Night, and it's not. It's Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night.
Oh,
And I was like,
yeah.
how could I do that? I listened to it when I was editing. I was like, well, that's not the fucking name of it. How could I do that? And then I looked at the outline and I wrote it down wrong. So I was just wrong from the outset. The movie I recommended and still recommend very much is Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night, which is a great documentary produced by Tom Morello about Ike Riley, he's a halfway well-known musician. He tours nationally, but he's from the Chicago area, and a lot of the documentary is about kind of where he grew up and how that you know kind of helped him form the artist that he became. So, but it's called "Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night."
That's why I didn't watch it yet because you gave me the wrong title.
You got on Google and it was just you're like, I don't know. It's just there's nothing about Saturday. You watched 12 episodes of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him one thing yet. I don't know what he's fucking talking about. What I find is that if we drink even a little bit during the show, we really fucking ramble about all kinds of shit. There's a lot of tangents in this episode.
Yeah, we cut each other off all the motherfucking time.
Yeah, true. It's true. I thought we did it a lot anyway, but it is worse.
Yeah, you would think we'd almost get into this natural rhythm of having been drunk together so many times,
Yeah,
but no, not even close.
Let's think back. When we were getting drunk together, we were interrupting each other all the time. This seems
Hey,
pretty
hey,
consistent.
hold on, Tom, wait.
No, this is
Listen to
funny,
this.
man. No,
This is
listen.
funnier than shit. No, that's funny, but this is funnier.
What you should did you say?
That brings us to staff picks.
Just around the corner from you.
Staff picks is Tom and I's attempt to recreate the experience of going into a record store, video or DVD store, and looking up on the board where some staff member is recommending new material to you. So Tom and I are doing the same with, new music, new books, new movies, new TV. So, Tom, what did you do for your staff pick for episode 2, season 7?
I did pick music this time around, and I am suggesting that you listen to the EP Options by Cameron Whitcomb. It's a 4-song EP. This guy's voice, I just love it. If you recall, when we did our year-end, our Aggies show, he was one of my tops. One of his songs was one of my top songs of 2024. This just came out a couple weeks ago. I've been listening to all 4 songs kind of over and over. The song Medusa is probably my favorite. It's really kind of up-tempo, really kind of cool. It's a love song type of deal. He sings as a bit of an angry young man, and just because of the pace of the song, it's already on my workout playlist. I'd probably listen to it 4 or 5 days a week just because of that. But I'm also listening to everything else. Cameron Whitcomb, Options. You can get it wherever you stream your music. It's really good. What do you got?
Well, I guess I should pay more attention to our season-ending episodes because I don't remember you recommending him because I thought he was a brand new artist. So I just queued him up on YouTube Music, and we'll give him a listen as soon as we stop recording.
Cool.
All right, I went with the tried and true band of mine. I don't think I've talked about them yet in any of our episodes. I know I've not put any of their stuff on a playlist. They almost made it onto my playlist choice, but their latest album has mostly songs about drugs, so not alcohol. Band is The Devil Makes Three, classic punk bluegrass band, one of my all-time favorites. Lead singer and I think guitarist is Pete Bernhardt. He's got some great solo material as well. But their latest album just came out. It's called Spirits. Definitely about, I don't know what Pete Bernhardt has gone through, but a lot of his latest material seems to be about death. And this one is no exception, although it's a little more humorous in some ways. There's a song called Ghosts Are Weak. Nice, catchy song, interestingly enough. And then this isn't about death per se, but it's definitely about drowning your sorrows or something. It's called I Love Doing Drugs. The song is exactly as it sounds. Some of my favorite lines. Well, I was tired, and I guess that I wanted to die. I figured that I may as well give crystal meth a try.
I get it.
This is one of my other ones. It's but it ain't no sin to think your skin is covered up in bugs. Oh my God, I love doing drugs. So all to, really fast bluegrass music. So check out Devil Makes Three, their new album, Spirits.
I am definitely checking that out because I've not listened to them. That's hilarious. Those are really funny lines. By the way, while you were talking, I did look up. It was The Devil I've Seen by Cameron Whitcomb. It was my
Oh, okay.
second
Yes,
favorite song. And I stand by that. Really good. In fact, I still like that song better than the stuff on the CP, but he's good. He's fun. I think he's very, kind of interesting. His voice is kind of cool. Anyway. All right, those are our staff picks for our second episode of season 7. And that now takes us to the cornerstone of Third Song In. We're going to make our playlist picks. So every season, we create a companion playlist that goes along with our episodes. Chris and I each pick a song that we try to connect to the theme of the episode, if at all possible. It usually works that way. So by the end of our 10 episode season, we'll have a 20-song playlist. You can find our playlist for seasons 1 through 6 wherever you stream your music: Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music. And we are doing the same, and we update weekly. We will update our season 7 playlist as we go along. And I would like to know what your pick for the playlist is this week.
I bet you would, because I teased it so much from my other list of
Yeah,
songs.
you did.
So I went with someone who I know that you like at least one of his other songs. I went with Mike Ryan. The song you like is The Rewrite.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a great song.
it
But
really is.
equally good song is one called When I Drink Beer. And it's all about drinking beer and then calling up that woman that you shouldn't be calling after you drink beer. And continuing to do it over and over again, and then being even sadder after you wake up in the morning and she's no longer there. So perfectly fits the theme of the episode. I think he's a little more traditional country than you and I usually tend towards, but he's a very clever songwriter. And I think When I Drink Beer is exemplifies his writing style.
Dude, if that isn't a song for 1980s Chris Derrickson, I don't know what the fuck is. Because you were the biggest violator of that rule. You would get shit faced and call whoever it was you were seeing. I mean,
or had
it's
just
so
broken
funny.
up with.
Or you just broke up with, right? Oh my God, I can't tell you how many times. Or just somebody you had a fight with. You
Yeah.
do an hour or so of drinking, and I'd be like, "Come on, man, don't call her, don't call her. Let's go do something." No, just a second, just a second.
And then I go down into the first floor little cubby hole or whatever we had where our phone was. 'Cause we didn't
Right,
have cell
right,
phone. We didn't have
right.
cell
There's no
phones
cell
back
phones.
then.
You had to have a cord on your phone.
Yeah, so you would people like, get off the phone, man. I gotta call somebody. I'm drunk too.
And you'd be in there, you'd be like, "I'm sorry." Although actually, I don't even think it was so much that, because I feel like you would do that and then you would end up in a fight anyway on the phone. Like I think
Yeah.
that happened a lot too.
Yeah.
But that song, I can't wait to listen to that song by Mike Ryan, because that's definitely going to make me think of you. So my pick for the playlist is from the album Trouble in Mind, which came out in 2008 by Hayes Carll. I don't think we've talked enough about Hayes Carll. I think he is fantastic. He is definitely an Americana guy. He's very inventive. He's got really smart lyrics. They're very funny. And sometimes just he's got really touching songs. And this is one of those. It's called Drunken Poet's Dream. And I don't think any description I give would really do it justice. Just look for our playlist wherever you stream your playlist and listen to Drunken Poet's Dream. It is awesome.
I 100% agree. And it's kind of surprising, if not shocking, that we haven't talked about him yet. Because I know he's a huge artist. I mean, you've put a ton of his stuff on our playlists, and I listen to him now all the time because of you.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And I was just going to look to see if he's got anything. I feel like he put out something within the last 2 years, maybe, but he's got such great songs. He's one of those guys who runs the gamut. He can do a really slow, sad, I lost my lover song, and he can do a really fun song that's just like rattles off a bunch of, like, a list of things, but he can make it funny just because I think he's really inventive. I don't know if we have enough drinking stories, but we have enough drinking songs that we could talk about them forever.
Yeah, is there anything more stereotypical than a drinking country song?
Yeah, right.
All right. That brings us to the end of episode 2, brother.
Yeah. Third Song In is recorded in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and Joliet, Illinois. We have an email address. Please contact us with your comments, your questions, your recommendations, your drinking stories, or your list of drinking songs at thirdsongin@gmail.com. Wherever you listen to our podcast, can you please follow it, rate it, review it, download it to listen? You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. Please give us every single star you have.
Drunken or not.
Or not. Drunken stars. We like drunken stars.
Drunken stars are our favorites. Check out our website, thirdsonginpodcast.com. There's also a link to our blogs. Tom and I put out a blog, each write a blog every other week. They're all on our website. You can also see all the recommendations that we've provided, the staff picks. We also choose usually a funny video to represent the episode. It's our episode spotlight. So a lot of material on our website. We strongly encourage you to check it out.
Yeah, and we try to occasionally have guests, and we also on the website have an As Mentioned page. It's a great place to go to find their work, or depending on who they are, where you can find their books, their music, etc. We also have a Facebook page, and you can communicate with us through Facebook. You can also find links to both our guests' material as well as video, photos, etc. Our blog is now also on Substack, and we'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to us through Substack.
And we're looking to expand our horizons a little bit to some more friendly social media sites, including Blue Sky. So if anyone's out there on Blue Sky, shoot us an email and let us know some of the best ways to get the word out about our podcast. You've been listening to Third Song In with Chris Derrickson and Tom Polachek. Thanks for listening.
Slow
Attempt to
down.
recreate.
Slow down, motherfucker. Say staff picks and give me time to put the music in.
Okay. That takes us to
You've been listening to
Third.
You've been listening to me and Chris talk over each other for the whole fucking podcast. Like fucking
No, your brother's right. You were an asshole.
brother.